Hi guys, how you doing? I hope you're all well. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you for tuning in. If you're not already, definitely subscribe and give this video a thumbs up if you find it helpful. Let's get right into it. So I just wanted to share with you a few of my frustrations with service providers. So as a social worker, you will be, working with a lot of other services in order to support different clients around different ranges of issues. So, you have to maintain relationships with service providers, but unfortunately sometimes you do tend to get frustrated with them as well, because there's so much that happens that is just like you just can't understand why that happens. So yeah, I just thought I'll share with you a few of my experiences with service providers that have been negative. I might do a positive one later on, but for now let's just be like negative. Okay, the first thing I want to say is there are a few services that like to palm off their clients to you. I find this with like bigger organizations that are probably government organizations, where they have like bigger number of client groups and stuff like that, which makes sense. I mean, I do acknowledge that they are busy and they are flat out, and so they just try to push clients wherever they can so they can get on to the next client. But I think, what's the point of being a social worker and supporting a client if you're not even going to bother to assess them properly and refer them appropriately? Sometimes we get people from hospitals that are being discharged and social workers would just refer them to us. Meanwhile, there might be certain things that the social worker could have done before referring them, like linking them into housing and things like that. Because with that, if they send them to us, the service that we'll be calling will be the same service that the hospital social worker could have called. So that just kills me. Like, and it's so obvious as well when people are trying to palm off their clients to you, because they tend to not have enough information about the client. I kid you not, I actually had an incident where this woman had called me and she was trying to refer a client over the phone, and I was like, okay, can I start with a client's name? And then you could hear in the background saying, what's your name, Dal? And I'm just like, are you kidding me? Like, you don't even know the client's name? Well, what else do you know about her? And they not want to do referral forms as well. A lot of the times when they're trying to palm off clients, they would rather call and do the referral on the phone because it's easier, and because they don't have enough information, it's easier for them to do it that way, and they won't be asked too many questions if they do it over the phone. But if you do the referral form, then you actually have to put in detailed information. So I find that a lot of people that want to palm off clients will do that, and they will do a lot of pressuring you into taking on clients. But you always have to be respectful, but at the same time maintain that boundary and be clear on what your service does, and just make sure you're maintaining that, because otherwise they will just take advantage and just keep throwing clients at you when they're not doing their job. So that's well, it was a couple of frustrations I put there. But yeah, the next thing that I would say that really frustrates me with service providers is I find that some policies that they may use in working are just not practical, and this is the case with a lot of government agencies as well. We do have a lot of clients that tend to use like the housing services, obviously, because most of them are homeless and things like that. And there's a thing where sometimes clients might present to these organizations or commission places to seek information or support, and as per policy they can't present like that and just make an appointment to see someone. They have to go home and then call and then make that appointment, and then they can come in and see someone. Tell me what sense that makes. Like, who makes these policies? And it's just so frustrating, because it's just like, if you're working with someone who is homeless, chances are their financials are not that great. So if you're requiring them to go home, call you, and then come back to the center, even though they've already presented to the center, then you're basically encouraging them to use more of their money. And most of the time they barely have this money. So what are you doing here? Like, are you supporting or not? I just think, like, their circumstances need to be considered before these decisions are made. But unfortunately, this is a policy that's still running. Another thing I would say that frustrates me is a framework. I don't know if it's a framework or a policy that is used by family and community services. So they're the ones that are responsible for child protection and stuff like that. I just don't really agree with identifying issues with a woman and not supporting her but just going in and taking the child. So there was actually an incident where a woman who was being supported by a different service, so I think there was some drug and alcohol issues in the past, and she was being supported by a particular service, and she had been sober for like 2 years or something, and she went into hospital to have a baby, and the baby was taken away from her and given to her partner. Now this woman lived with her partner right before she had the baby, but because she's not identified to be a safety person for the baby, she's required to leave the house so the husband can take care of the baby in that house, so thereby making her homeless basically. So she has to be homeless in order for the baby to be safe. And it's just like, doesn't it make more sense for you to support mom, to support her baby? It's different if they had been, she hadn't been sober for that long, and she was still using drugs and alcohol and all that right before she had a baby. But according to the service provider, she had been sober for that long, and she had been doing drug tests and that frequently to make sure she was meeting the standards of family and community services. So I don't know, I just find it very interesting that you make her homeless so the baby can be safe. What about the attachment that's required between mom and baby? What about all those things that help baby to develop to become better? I think it makes more sense to support mom so that she can support baby, rather than take away mom because she's been identified as a non-safety person. So just that, yeah, it just doesn't really sit well with me. But yeah, those are my thoughts. If you guys are social workers already, what are some of your frustrations with service providers? Leave them below, and yeah, I'll be glad to know and join in the conversation. And I shall see you in my next video. Bye guys.